Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Missed Calls with Coach Miller. I am, in fact, Coach Miller, and after a couple of weeks, trying to get everything done before school gets going, I am back. And this episode is brought to you by Home by SMCI. Listen, it's still been hot. It's going to be hot. It's August, and if you're not used to dealing with your Missouri weather, your air conditioner isn't, and it goes out, you probably need to give them a call today, because you need that thing fixed. So give Home by SMCI a call today. They'll come out, they'll take care of your air conditioner, and they'll treat your home like it's their home, and that's why it's called Home by SMCI. So give them a call today at 636-337-4444, or Google them at homebysmci.com, and you can get a hold of them. They will take care of all of your air conditioning needs. So if you've been paying attention to the world of college football lately, there's a lot of chaos going on, and the chaos that is ensuing has a lot to do with the fact that college football is basically taking over the NCAA. They have made the NCAA show their cards that they have nothing. They have no power. They have no authority. And how they've been doing this is not just with NILs. That was a Pandora's box they opened up in themselves. But the biggest problem that I see that's about ready to hit all college sports right in the mouth is this conference realignment. Conference realignment is the most insane thing I have seen in college sports in my lifetime. Right now, this year, in 2023, we have 12 teams in the Pac-12. It used to be the Pac-10, now it's Pac-12. And this season, we will have 12 teams. But after this season, the Pac-12, unless anything hasn't changed from this day forward, from right now, there will be 4 teams left in the Pac-12. Everybody's jumping ship. And there's a big money grab going on because everybody wants a piece of the pie from the Big Ten or the SEC or the Big 12. And the Big 12's kind of taking the leftovers, I guess you could say. But we started out with 12 teams in the Pac-12: Arizona State, Colorado, Oregon, UCLA, USC, Utah, Washington, California, Oregon State, Stanford, and Washington. And the last 4 are the only ones that are going to be left, with California, Oregon State, Stanford, and Washington. Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah are all next year going to the Big 12. That move was approved. They're going there. Boom, it's done. And Oregon, UCLA, USC, and Washington are all going to the Big Ten. So these cats are jumping ship. See ya. Now, this has all been kind of a big push. I mean, in the last few years, we've had some conference realignments. We've had teams moving, and it didn't make a lot of geographical sense at the time for some of these schools, and it doesn't. But they're willing to pay for the travel. Okay, that's fine. Kind of like SLU being in the Atlantic 10, which makes no sense, but whatever. Well, now you have the Big 12 that went from 10 teams last year. They're going to have 14 this year because they added BYU, Cincinnati, Houston, and Central Florida. They're going to be losing Oklahoma and Texas next year, but they're going to be adding these other teams. So they're going to go from 10 teams to 14 to 15 in 2024. So the Big 12 is going to have 15 teams. The Big 10, which is operating at 14 teams for this season, with Illinois, Iowa, Indiana, Maryland, Michigan State, Minnesota, Nebraska, Northwestern, Ohio State, Penn State, Purdue, Rutgers, and Wisconsin, they're going to be adding Oregon, UCLA, USC, and Washington, and they're going to be operating at 18 teams next season. Big 10, 18. Big 10, 14. Makes no sense, but whatever. So you have all these super conferences that are coming about. The Pac-12 is just getting absolutely annihilated. And if anybody thinks that the Mountain West should just allow them to come in, that's stupid. Okay, the Mountain West should hold them hostage, if that's the case, to get those other 4 schools: Cal, Oregon State, Stanford, Washington State. It was actually reported that the ACC was looking into a couple of these schools and possibly adding them. The Atlantic Coastal Conference was thinking about adding schools like Cal that were 20 minutes from the Pacific Ocean. Now, if you're not very good at geography, like Riley Blair or other people maybe from Illinois, I don't know, that doesn't make geographical sense at all. It's bad enough right now that Rutgers has to play Oregon and Washington. That's a lot of travel time. That's a lot of money. And I get it. You're making a lot of money by joining these conferences because of the TV deals. But the TV deals in themselves, are they going to be able to pay for all those things? In Drinkwitz from Missouri came out and had some great points about these kids and their travel and all this thing. What are we trying to do here? I get it. If I'm a school and football stirs the drink, and I'm going to get these kids here for football reasons, then yeah, I'm going to definitely try to get into these other conferences and to do these other things. But what are you really doing at that point? You're not an academic institution. You're a club team, and this is your way to get it. To me, it number one, it shows the lack of authority the NCAA has on these schools. They don't have any authority, none whatsoever. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. There's no freaking way that you should have these schools in the same conference with each other. There just isn't. Okay. The SEC has expanded itself to where it's not in the Southeast anymore. You have Mizzou, which, I love Mizzou because I'm from Missouri, root for my home state team, unlike other people. But you have Mizzou. They shouldn't really be in there, okay? Texas Tech probably shouldn't be in there. Texas is not a southeastern located team. When they started some of these conferences years and years ago, like the Pac-10, where are they at? They're by the Pacific Ocean. Pacific 10. The Atlantic Coastal Conference, the Southeastern Conference. You used to have the Southwestern Conference. Those were locational. Why? Because those schools were in the same vicinity. There was traditional rivalries. There was those games that those schools played against each other, because that's what you wanted to see. How did fans travel to go from Penn State all the way to Oregon to watch a game? I mean, there's going to be some people who can. Don't get me wrong. I mean, airlines are going to have to lower their flights and things like that. You're not just going to throw your gear in a car if you're a college kid, though, and drive to that place and watch that game. That's just one you're not going to get to go watch. You're going to jump across how many time zones to get there anyway. It doesn't make any sense. You're not going to travel well, okay? So what's the point of doing it? In my personal opinion, and my point of all this madness, this chaos, why even have conferences? Why? There's no reason to at this point. Why even have it? Just what purpose does it serve? Why, to get into the college football playoffs? You're going to have 18 teams in the Big Ten. How the hell is that going to work to decide who's the best? What if one of those teams or a couple of those teams are a couple of the best in college football? Next thing you know, well, there's going to be somebody left out in the cold. Well, they didn't get into the playoffs. Well, because they didn't win the conference championship. Well, they didn't even come in second. Well, they're in the wrong division. Okay, why? Doesn't make any sense. Right now, the TV deals are the only things holding conference championships, or holding the conferences, together for these schools. The TV deals. If there were no TV deals and it just went to the schools themselves, guess what would happen? Nobody would need to be in a conference anymore. That's it. Because in essence, do you really need to be? In the grand scheme of it, everybody wanted to jump in the SEC because it's the power conference. Great. But here's the thing. You don't have to. You don't have to. You don't have to. If everybody just got out of conferences, you don't have to do those things anymore. Because then it doesn't matter. Then the best teams say, well, how does that work then? Because you didn't win your conference. So you didn't win a conference championship. You didn't. Notre Dame's been doing it for years, okay, as an independent. And if everybody went to an independent style thing, you can schedule who you want. You can make your schedule as tough as you want. You don't have to worry about playing the cupcakes in your conference. If I'm Michigan, I don't have to worry about playing Rutgers and how much that hurts me, or maybe in Indiana when they're not doing very good, or a Northwestern or somebody like that. I can play the big schools. I can play the tough schools. I can go play somebody who's tough to get me able to get recognized for my strength of schedule. You have a committee. You do it with college basketball. You have the RPI or whatever they call it now, that that measures how tough of a schedule you play and if you deserve to play. So if you got 20 wins against a bunch of cupcakes, nobody's letting you in the tournament. Same thing with college football. Why can't you do that? You have a committee that decides who makes the playoffs anyway. There you go. So what purpose does it serve to have a conference and a conference championship and have to be required to play schools that maybe you don't want to play? The other thing it does is also makes you more accountable. So you have the Alabamas and the Georgias. They can't go play the Citadel. They can't go play some Division II pushover, school that you've never heard of that are trying to maybe just make a couple bucks by playing these schools, these big schools, and getting their butts kicked. That all goes out the window. So now the best teams need to play the best schedule because they're trying to get into the college football playoffs. It would hold these schools more accountable. You don't have to worry about that because if I'm Georgia, I'm in the SEC and I'm Georgia. So I can go ahead and play one of those and have an exhibition game right in the middle of the year. You can't do that now. Now you have to play somebody who's tough all the time because you're trying to constantly prove yourself. Again, holding these schools accountable. But the simple solution to all this, and there was a great article that came out in ESPN.com. Matter of fact, it was yesterday by a guy named Shane Schumacher. I want to give him credit because the simple solution is just to eliminate conferences. And I've been saying that. Why have them? Why? I mean, so the geographical part makes no sense anyway. If I'm in the Pac-12 and we decide we're going to join the Mountain West, that's great. We're still going to have teams that are not on the Pacific Ocean. The Big Ten, with their geographical location there in the upper Midwest, now they're adding Oregon. What? Or UCLA. What? No. And for even the Big East, who's traditionally been over on the East Coast, which is the East, Creighton. Why? Again, if you're not gonna the NCAA is not gonna have the authority to take care of this and to regulate this and to keep these schools from doing this, which they're not going to. You can see what they're doing with the transfer portal and NILs right now. They're not going to do anything. They have no power. It's like you have no power here. That's what's happening. None. The NCAA is a joke. The hypocritical joke, just on so many levels right now. And this is just another example that in a few years you're not going to have a governing body over college football. You're going to have these schools that are going to govern themselves, and this is the best way to do it anyway. If they want out of the NCAA's madness of what they're trying to do, just eliminate conferences, have a committee, decide amongst yourselves who makes the college football playoffs. You look at the strength of schedule. You put the power into the programs to put themselves in a position to make the playoffs, and when they do, then there you go. And that solves this. But this conference realignment stuff is absolutely insane. It makes no sense. And I'm just telling you right now, for anybody to continue on with this, it's a terrible mistake, and it's ruining the game of college football. Appreciate you guys tuning in for another episode of Missed Calls. Like I said, it's been a couple weeks since I've done this. We'll have a couple more episodes, and we'll call it a summer. But appreciate you guys tuning in. Until next time, I'm Coach Miller, and we'll see you guys later. Good night. God bless.
Are you tired of boring sports talk shows? Then tune in to the Coach's Box. These guys don't just talk sports. They talk about whatever the heck they want to talk about. Watch new episodes of the Coach's Box each week for free on Facebook, YouTube, or the